Right friends, welcome back to comprehension, and today we are going to deliberate on 7th Economic Times editorial, that is finance calls for unified regulation, and tomorrow the issue is yesterday's Economic Times editorial, that is to make every single day Women's Day. So, about International Women's Day, the editorial of Economic Times will be discussed tomorrow, and for today it is with regard to unified regulation. And here, before going ahead, 3-4 things please understand clearly. First one is with regard to foreign direct investment or foreign portfolio investment, the limits are prescribed by DIPP. DIPP, Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, notifies with the various limits pertaining to foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment. Once the limits are notified, that is by Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Once the limits are notified, the limits example is telecom sector, 100% foreign direct investment is allowed. Banking sector, 74% is allowed. So, these limits are specified, and subsequently Reserve Bank of India comes into picture. Reserve Bank of India's role is to look at how much foreign exchange is flowing into the country, subject to the conditions imposed in our country. So, if some foreign direct investment limit is 74%, it is RBI which tracks how much is flowing into our country. If it exceeds 74% or if it exceeds the stipulated limit, then RBI is the organization which looks at all these things. Subsequently, to stop trading or to stop purchase of shares, then SEBI will come into picture. Please understand carefully, FDI regulations are notified by one particular department, then RBI will come into picture to track how much foreign exchange is flowing into the country, because foreign exchange management, just like currency management, is with Reserve Bank of India. So, foreign exchange is solely managed by Reserve Bank of India. Subject to the limits, it will allow foreign currency into the country. If the limit exceeds, then it will intimate to the concerned organization. So, if something is going wrong beyond particular limit, then SEBI is the organization which comes into picture. So, Securities and Exchange Board of India is the capital market regulator that will come into picture when some violation is taking place beyond certain limit. So, each and every department is given their own responsibilities. So, recently what happened? Last month one incident took place. This is with regard to HDFC Bank. HDFC Bank, in fact, as I have already told you, the limit is 74% in banking sector. Both FDI and FPI put together, the limit of foreign investment in banking sector is 74%. If it exceeds 74%, then Reserve Bank of India will not allow, and Reserve Bank of India in fact gave instructions to brokers to stop trading once it crossed 74%, and that is objected to by SEBI. SEBI objected to the Reserve Bank of India's instruction to brokers to stop trading. The right way is Reserve Bank of India should intimate Securities and Exchange Board of India. Subsequently, Securities and Exchange Board of India should stop trading through the brokers. So, that is the right way, because there are several financial regulators in our country. RBI looks at one aspect, SEBI looks at another aspect, IRDAI looks at another aspect, then Pension Fund Regulatory Development Authority looks at another aspect. So, there are 4 financial sector regulators, and this editorial argues there is no need for these many regulators. Nowadays functions are converging, you cannot differentiate one function with the other, and the present incident of Reserve Bank of India with regard to HDFC Bank is a classic reminder that only unified regulator is the need of the hour. These many regulators are not required. If you look at Reserve Bank of India, all of you are familiar, Reserve Bank of India is the organization which is banker to banks, banker to central government, banker to state governments. At the same time, money market regulator is Reserve Bank of India. At the same time, currency management lies with Reserve Bank of India. Foreign exchange management Reserve Bank of India looks after. So, these are all the powers vested with the Reserve Bank of India, and this is all about Reserve Bank of India. Headquarters is in fact Mumbai Mint Street. So, sometimes Mint Street, if someone says that is the headquarters of Reserve Bank of India, please do not forget, established on April 1, 1935, and initial headquarters was in Kolkata and shifted to Mumbai in 1937, right. So, if you go back to the passage, this is the spat between SEBI and RBI underlines it, right. So, here what is the spat? Let us go ahead. Finance calls for unified regulation. Unified regulation means entire financial sector must be regulated by only single authority. That is the meaning of unified regulator, and there is no need of these many regulators like Reserve Bank of India, which regulates certain aspects, like Securities and Exchange Board of India, which regulates certain aspects. Insurance sector is regulated by IRDAI. Pension sector is regulated by PFRDA. So, these are all various regulators, and to act as coordinator, all of you are familiar with FSDC. FSDC is headed by the finance minister, which constitutes these many financial sector regulators coming together, and there is no need of these many regulators. One is enough. The spat between SEBI and RBI underlines it. So, now the recent incident involving HDFC Bank, RBI, SEBI underlines it. So, the recent incident points towards unified regulator, that is the meaning of it. What is the meaning of spat? Spat is a brief petty quarrel, it is not a bigger one, a brief petty quarrel or small angry outburst you can call spat. Spat over trivial issues is quite common in our country is the example. So, spat means this is basically a brief petty quarrel. At the same time, do not forget spar, S-P-A-R. This is also quite frequently used in English language. This is to argue with someone in a friendly way. This is a spar. So, Rajesh and Kumar spar with each other at meetings, but frankly speaking, they are good friends for the past 20 years. So, spar means it is the argument in a friendly way, please understand. So, spat and spar. Spat is a brief petty quarrel. Recently, Reserve Bank of India and Securities and Exchange Board of India have gone in for petty quarrel. So, that is why this word spat is used. The spat between SEBI and RBI underlines it. Too much need not be read into a letter from markets regulator SEBI to banking regulator RBI on the latter's direct instructions to market participants in relation to trading in HDFC Bank shares. SEBI is in the right. The conduct of trade in securities is its business. Recently, SEBI wrote a letter to RBI. As I have already told you, when the limit of 74% is breached, Reserve Bank of India directly instructed the brokers to stop purchasing the securities, and SEBI objected to it. SEBI's contention is writing to the brokers or giving instructions to the brokers is within the purview of SEBI. Why you are giving instructions? If it is breaching 74%, you have to inform me and I will inform the broker. So, that is the contention of SEBI. SEBI is right in its own conduct, and here conduct of trade in securities is the business of SEBI. So, that is why SEBI is right. So, this paragraph says SEBI is right in writing a letter to RBI because conducting securities is the business of SEBI, right. So, let us look at the next paragraph. This is the RBI as the regulator for banks, in between two commas means additional information, is responsible for maintaining sectoral foreign investment caps. As I have already told you, RBI is responsible for maintaining, suppose in defense sector 49% is the limit, suppose in banking sector 74% is the limit. RBI has to look at that sectoral cap, and if it exceeds, then it is the responsibility of RBI to bring it to the notice of concerned authorities, right. Here is responsible for maintaining sectoral foreign investment caps. When the possibility of foreign investment in HDFC is breaching the permitted cap became clear, the RBI intervened and asked custodians to not clear trades any further. What happened, as I have already explained you, when the possibility of foreign investment in HDFC bank breaching the permissible cap, cap is 74%, cap means limit. So, breach, all of you are familiar with the breach. So, security breach, you see security breaches, if you are entering into chief minister's convoy, then it is a security breach. If you are illegally copying the information of debit card, then it is a debit card breach. So, breach, all of you are clear about this meaning of the word breach. Here this breach is used in the context that when the HDFC bank's 74%, this given 74% cap is breached, RBI intervened and asked custodians to not clear trades any further. So, breach, all of you are clear. Cap, cap has got several meanings. This cap, all of you are familiar with. This is also called cap or lid, and cap in economy means limit on the amount of money that can be charged. Some limit is imposed on the financial transactions, that is called cap. So, when 74% cap is breached, then RBI intervened. What is the meaning of intervention? Intervened means to involve in a difficult situation in order to improve it, so that it do not go from bad to worse. So, to involve in a difficult situation to improve it is intervention. So, here RBI intervenes rarely in the foreign exchange market to stem excessive volatility. It is known as managed float. I am talking about this foreign exchange market, and the present issue and this example are entirely different. Do not confuse. This example is different and the present issue is different, right. So, here intervention, RBI's intervention in the present paragraph situation is something different. And custodian, what is the meaning of custodian? Custodian is some organization who has the legal right to manage and look after another person's money. So, if I am permitted to purchase shares on behalf of you, I am considered as custodian. So, the custodians in share market, or you can say the persons or organizations whoever are purchasing shares on behalf of some other organization will take approval of SEBI. So, here the custodian of shares and bonds must get the approval of the capital market regulator SEBI, right. So, this is the paragraph what we discussed. This paragraph says about that what RBI has done. When the possibility of foreign investment in HDFC bank breaching the permitted cap became clear, the RBI intervened Everything is in past tense, please understand. Everything is in past tense because it happened some time back. The RBI intervened, simple past tense, to ask custodians to not clear trades any further. So, RBI directly intervened and asked the stock brokers, custodians means stock brokers, to not clear trades any further. That is the reason for Securities and Exchange Board of India's ear over Reserve Bank of India, right? Because it is the domain of Securities and Exchange Board of India, because asking some stockbroker or custodian to stop trading, that is only the responsibility of SEBI. At the first blush, blush means it is literal meaning is this: when some embarrassment is there, when face becomes this pink color due to some embarrassment. You see, I gave one example which clearly says the meaning of blush. The poor boy from a slum area was blushing when the principal called him to come up to the dais to collect the prize. He stood class first and principal called to collect the prize. So, here it is blushing, that means from embarrassment he never expected that he will collect first prize from the principal. So, at the first blush, this is the, what is the exact meaning why he used it first blush? He used basically to emphasize in that perspective. So, at first blush, it would seem that the right thing would have been for the RBI to ask SEBI to act. As I have already told you, it would seem that the right thing would have been the RBI to ask SEBI to act. Please understand carefully. It would seem that the right thing would have been. The right thing would have been. It literally not happened. It was the right course of action. In that context, this sentence is framed like this: it would seem that the right thing, please understand, the right thing would have been. Several times these type of sentences appear in passages. The right thing would have been RBI, for the RBI to ask SEBI to act. Here the right situation was this: RBI has to ask SEBI, it did not happen. So, people may confuse, it happened, it did not happen, but it was the right thing to happen. It has not happened, but it was the right thing to happen, but it has not happened. So, indicate that meaning. This is framed like this: the right thing would have been for the RBI to ask SEBI to act. Normally, these type of sentences confuse the students. However, that is not the ideal solution. He is going much beyond. Even RBI asking SEBI is also not the ideal solution. The ideal solution is not for different regulators of the financial sector to cooperate, each minding the other's turf. So, here the people feel that RBI would have asked SEBI to act, and that is not the ideal situation, something else is there. The ideal situation is not one financial regulator cooperating with other financial regulator and asking the other financial regulator, please do not cross limits. Turf means do not cross your domain. Turf means domain in the present context. So, it is not the ideal situation. The ideal situation is something else, having unified regulator. These many regulators are not required, that you will come across in the next paragraph. Right. So, here turf, this is also known as a turf. Then the meaning of turf is area of activity or a domain, you can say. So, area of activity, it is my turf means it is my domain. Teaching comprehension is my turf if I say it is my domain. So, here turf means an area of activity in which a person or company has a lot of knowledge and experience, and basically which they believe belongs to them. So, turf has got two meanings. Here it is used because of the reason The ideal solution, people think that RBI to ask SEBI, and that is the ideal situation, and that people seem that that is the ideal situation, but it is not the ideal situation, and the ideal situation is something else. The ideal situation is to have unified regulation of financial sector. The ideal situation or ideal solution is to have unified regulation of the financial sector, eliminating the question of turf transgression or unregulated no man's land in financial markets. Please understand carefully, the ideal solution is to have unified regulation of the financial sector, eliminating the question of turf transgression. Turf transgression means, as I have already told you, turf means domain. So, if RBI exceeds its powers, SEBI will say do not exceed. If SEBI exceeds powers, RBI will say do not exceed. If IRDAI exceeds powers, then RBI will say do not exceed. So, it is turf transgression. Turf means their particular domain. Transgression means exceeding or passing that domain into others' domain. So, here it eliminates, if unified financial sector regulator is there, it eliminates the question of turf transgression. There is no question of entering into others' domain, because unified regulator will be there, and or unregulated no man's land in financial markets. So, there may be some unregulated no man's land will be there. So, people do not bother about all these things if unified regulator is there. Financial markets intersect with one another the more developed they are. So, before going into this sentence, let us look at unified. Unified means involving several people and they work together. Unified means basically, the literal meaning of unified is involving several people, organizations that all work together, and no business or organization can survive without unified vision pointing towards a single cause. That is the meaning of unified. But in the present context, unified is used with the meaning that there should be one financial regulator instead of these many regulators. Right? Turf we have discussed. Transgression. Transgression means exceeding the laid out boundary or limits. Please do not transgress the limits. I gave one example. In India, the law enforcing authorities, or you can say police, sometimes come under the criticism that they are transgressing their powers. Transgressing means they are going beyond their powers, that is transgressing. So, turf transgression meaning is please do not cross the limits, right. So, crossing the limits is turf transgression, right. So, intersect. If you look at the roads, all of you are familiar with intersection. Road intersection, all of you are familiar. So, in the economic parlance, intersect is two aspects which are intersecting. So, to explain you clearly, this intersection, if ULIP is there, that is basically unit linked insurance plan. There money will be invested in stock markets as well as insurance will be there. So, who will regulate it? One aspect is pertaining to stock markets. If you look at it from one way, ULIPs I am talking about. ULIPs, if you talk about it, if you look at it one way, it comes under the domain of SEBI, and if you look at the insurance part, it comes under the domain of IRDAI. So, this is basically financial intersection. You cannot delineate, this is particularly for this purpose, this is particularly for this purpose. When the financial markets develop more and more, then intersection will be more and more. Some financial product may have the properties of capital market because they may invest in securities, and it may have the properties of insurance because it may have some insurance qualities, and it may also have pension qualities. So, nowadays as the markets develop more and more, then they intersect with one another more and more. So, please understand this, financial markets intersect with one another, because the meaning is you cannot bifurcate, this is its turf, this is its turf, this is its turf. You cannot bifurcate because they intersect each other, and the intersection will be much more when the financial markets are developed more. So, lot many hybrid products will come, and it is not possible to differentiate, or you can say it is not possible to pinpoint who is the regulator for this type of hybrid product. Right. So, here if you look at the next paragraph, this is credit default swaps insure against the possibility of a bondholder not being paid when the time comes for its redemption. One example he is giving, previous sentence is, when the financial markets develop, then the intersection will be more. Immediately, as an example, he is mentioning about credit default swaps or CDS. CDS will have features of insurance also. You may have a doubt what is meant by CDS. I will tell you with one example. I have purchased 5-year bond from Reliance Industries. I purchased by paying money 5-year bond from Reliance Industries today, and after 5 years, by 2022, I have to get redemption from the Reliance Industries, but I got my own doubts. Industries fails to pay back me. So, to ward off that fear in my mind, what I will do? I will sell this to some third party. So, third party will insure against the failure of Reliance Industries. If Reliance Industries fails to pay me back after 5 years, this credit default swap will come to my rescue. I will get money from third party. So, that is credit default swap, and it has got some features of insurance also. So, one example is credit default swaps insure against the possibility of a bondholder not being paid when time comes for its redemption. When I invested something by purchasing bond, then after 5 years or after 10 years, I have to get back my money. So, that is the redemption, and there is no guarantee that the firm will pay back to me, and I will sell it to some third party, and if Reliance Industries fails to pay me back after 5 years, the third person will pay me back. That is the meaning of credit default swaps. So, it has got some features of insurance also. So, who will regulate this? Whether insurance sector will regulate or the capital market will regulate. So, these are the issues to be sorted out. After the 2008 financial crisis, all of you are familiar with 2008 financial crisis, the effort has been made to make credit default swaps guaranteed by a counterparty as far as possible. So, some third party guarantee, as now just I have explained about this. That means CDS should come under the purview of the market regulator, although they are quintessentially insurance products. Here I am selling one particular bond to this credit default swap or third party or counterparty, and basically under whose purview it will come. This means CDS should come under the purview of market regulator, that is SEBI, although they are quintessentially insurance products. What is the meaning of quintessentially? Quintessentially means being the most typical example or being the best example. So, here I gave one example, please look into this. Kaveri water dispute is the quintessential example of river water disputes. So, you can say quintessential means most typical one to explain something. So, if I say Kaveri river water dispute, it is one typical example of river water disputes in our country. So, for that I can say Kaveri water dispute is the quintessential example of river water disputes, being that is only one amongst many in our country. So, when people are talking about river water disputes, if I say Kaveri water dispute, then people will be clear about the meaning of this water dispute. So, it is one typical example is to be taken, that is the quintessential. quintessentially this is insurance product. This credit default swaps is a typical example of insurance product, but technically it comes under the purview of SEBI. So, what I mean to convey is nowadays financial markets are basically cross, as we have already told you that the one you cannot bifurcate the purpose, or you can say most of them are in the category of hybrid, right. So, this is what the passage conveys. The next one is India took a significant step forward towards unified regulation. India already took, he was talking about past, India took, he has not used has taken, please differentiate. India has taken, India took, what is the difference? India took means it happened some time ago, he was mentioning about previous aspect. If he use India has taken, he is giving reference to the present time. So, under those circumstances you have to go for India has taken. So, India took, he is talking about the past tense. So, past incident he is talking about. India took a significant step forward towards unified regulation when a separate commodities regulator was scrapped and SEBI was given charge of regulating commodity markets. So, all of you are familiar with Forward Markets Commission. Forward Markets Commission, in fact, which looks at commodities markets, was scrapped and it was merged with the Securities and Exchange Board of India somewhere around 2015, and he was mentioning about this incident. That is why he used altogether past tense. India took a significant step towards unified regulation when a separate commodities regulator was scrapped. Scrap we discussed several times. One is this discarded metal and the other one is to not continue with a system. So, when this commodities market regulator was scrapped and SEBI was given charge of regulating commodity markets, we still have some way to go. We learned previously about long way to go. What is the meaning of long way to go? Please look here. Long way to go is a lot of work to do, some way to go is some work to do. So, sometimes in the passages normally a long way to do is used, a long way to do meaning is a lot of work to do. I have given one example here, it is long way to go to bring Indian education to the global standards. So, please get back to the paragraph. This is, we still have some way to go. Why he used some way to go? Because already India took one step around 1.5 years ago to merge commodities market regulator into SEBI. So, having written this, now he is concluding we still have some way to go. Some way to go is used because some action was done already to reach the ideal of unified regulator, or unified regulation idea is some distance away. That is the meaning of this paragraph. So, unified we already discussed previously. Unified regulation does not mean one node of regulatory authority. It does not mean only one node of regulatory authority. A financial conduct authority will be there. A financial conduct authority should supervise. He is suggesting a financial conduct authority should supervise all financial markets, but should in turn function informed by the advice of a macroprudential regulator. So, at the apex level there will be one macroprudential regulator, will be there, and financial conduct authority will supervise the financial markets. Macroprudential regulation. What is the meaning? Nowadays, this is gaining ground because of 2008 financial crisis. You should not see any financial activity in isolation. PFRDA may be doing good regulation, RBI may be doing its own good regulation, IRDAI may be doing its own regulation, then SEBI may be doing its own regulation. That does not mean overall regulation is good. Everyone is using regulation in their own turf. and it does not serve the present day purpose because of two reasons. 2008 financial crisis. The second point, important point, is now most of the functions of financial system are not restricted to one regulator, as we have already discussed about credit default swaps, unit linked insurance plans. So these have different elements one regulator cannot do. So the concept of macroeconomic regulation is gaining ground nowadays, because unified regulation is indirectly meaning of ensuring macroprudential regulation, right. So from a single bank's point of view, the sensible thing might be to freeze the lending in a particular situation. You see, he is continuing about what he mentioned in the previous paragraph. Now this financial conduct authority should work and function informed by the advice of a macroprudential regulator, single regulator who looks at economy as a whole, not compartmentally. So when something is looked at as a whole, then priorities may be different. Here you see, from single bank's point of view, the sensible thing might be to freeze lending in a particular situation. In a particular situation, SBI may feel it is necessary or sensible to freeze lending. Freeze means, all of you know about this first meaning. Freeze means liquid turning into ice or solid is freezing, and freeze means in economic parlance, that is to fix prices, income levels at a particular level and not allow any increase. So freeze the prices, the meaning is to control the prices at a particular level. So here let us take for example, from a single bank's point of view, the sensible things might be to freeze the lending. SBI may freeze lending, may stop lending, may restrict lending in a particular situation, but means opposite sense, please understand. But a macroprudential imperative, overall economic sense, macroprudential imperative means if you look at the macroprudential stability of the country as a whole, it may require, it may push it to lend to prevent a systemic crisis. So macroprudential regulation looks at systemic risk. Systemic risk means the risk to the economy as a whole, that is looked after by unified macroprudential regulator. So under particular circumstances, RBI may feel that the lending may be freezed, but if you look at the macroeconomic level, it may be imperative. Imperative means it may be urgent, it may be extremely necessary to prod, but that means to encourage. I gave one example. I prodded Rajesh in the back to get his attention about the incoming vehicle. So here some vehicle is coming. He is not looking at the vehicle, so his friend is advising him some vehicle is coming, and in the economic parlance, this prod is used to encourage someone to take action. So in the overall macroeconomic perspective, from the macroeconomic perspective, it may be extremely important, it may be imperative, it may be urgent, all are one and the same, and it may be necessary to encourage lending so as to prevent systemic risk. Systemic risk means when risk is there to one particular segment of economy, then it translates or affects other sectors also. So overall economy will be affected, that is the meaning of systemic risk, right. So this paragraph says that from one bank's perspective, it may be required to control lending, but overall macroeconomic scenario may necessitate lending to prevent systemic crisis, right. So this is all about this passage, and finally it argues that unified regulator to look at macroeconomic regulation must be there. And these many regulators are not required. This became necessary in view of the fact nowadays financial products are mostly hybrid products, and as and when or more and more when the financial markets develop, then cross functional activities may increase, and because of that you cannot pinpoint under whose regulation it is coming. So, because of that unified macroprudential regulator is the need of the hour as per this editorial. And tomorrow we are going to deliberate on International Women's Day and women's issues. They are somewhat general in nature. So, with this let us conclude today's comprehension. Please do join tomorrow. Have a nice day. Thank you.